Hello, everyone. Today we're talking about the economic impact on summer travel. I am talking about this not because I want to, but because it has been the number one question over the last probably 3 weeks. And so when it comes to economics, I find them fascinating, but they're not fun to talk about in a webinar format because it can be boring. So I apologize if it's boring, but a lot of facts here and a lot of research went into this. Uh, I like to follow economists. I have my favorite ones that I follow. Some of the major Fortune 500 companies in the United States I follow as well as markets and such. And when it comes to the economy affecting various things, they teach you a little bit about this in college, but the you really learn more about it by finding mentors and paying people to teach you how this all really works. I'm one that has really followed this in the real estate arena and the marketing arena. And when it comes to automotive repair shops, that is really what we're talking about today. But when you talk about the different arenas, you have to study each one because it affects each one in a different way, and the demographics and psychographics also play a part in this. But following favorite economists has become easier and easier through technology, through Twitter, and as it became X, that is one of my favorite formats to follow it on. You can also follow them on Instagram and YouTube and such. But in following those economists, some of those they're area specific. So they're in the United States, they're in Texas only, for instance. There are some that are only in New York. So they talk about how the economy affects certain industries, certain geographical areas, certain demographics, and psychographics. Psychographics come into this and play pretty hard when it comes to economics. So basically, someone that makes $15 an hour isn't spending the same as someone that makes $45 an hour right now. And so retired people are not spending the same as people that are fighting for their piece of the pie as far as jobs go or market share goes. And so I'm just going to go into this a little bit, just letting you know that some of it may be a little bit dry. And so I did want to talk about the economic impact on summer travel. This is a really big deal. I like old gas stations, so I popped this in here. So right now, the national average for gas prices is between 4.20 and 4.30 a gallon. If you're in California, you're like, dang, that's cheap. That's probably because your state has so many imposed state taxes in your gas prices. Last I checked, the state of California had about $4 in state imposed taxes when you pay at the pump. And so when it's 4.20 across the national average, you get into Oklahoma or Texas or some of those areas, and you're going to see below $3. And so that is one of the reasons that you're going to see some of these fluctuations is because of state imposed gasoline taxes. And so I won't get tremendously into those, but yes, things that are happening in the Strait of Hormuz really do affect the U.S. And I have talked about this briefly with various clients, and that's why I'm bringing it up today. And so Saudi Arabia is putting in a pipeline that will bring oil across and to where they don't have to go through the Strait of Hormuz to ship it to our side of the world. That doesn't help China out. So the U.S. oil supply has not been affected by the wars that have happened recently. It is being affected by what is happening in the world because what happens in Iran does affect the China market and what oil they are getting. And so when it affects other major consumers, then it affects the US. So our supply hadn't been affected, but when you're competing against other consumers, then it affects it. I hope that in a nutshell makes sense to people. And so there are other other things that happen in the world that affect us. And so supply and demand does affect our supply. And it's not, and they aren't isolated between the two. So gas prices, they were higher and they have fallen a little bit. And we'll see what continues to happen there. But national average as of today is between 420 and 430. And the labor market, this is very important to know. Labor market, it comes out, yes, it comes out monthly, but quarterly is a better indicator. Annually is an even better indicator as to what happens there, but it does remain healthy. So people in general, if they want to be employed, they are employed. If they're employable, I don't even really want to get into that, but some of the labor that some of the applicants that are being dumped on the market today aren't as qualified as they were last year and in previous years. If you use ChatGPT to graduate from high school, well, knock, knock, this really does affect you when you're trying to get a job. I have been hiring recently, and the quality of applicants in the United States, especially, is I'm going to call it like it is. It's diminishing a little bit. Um, so right from their resumes, you can tell when a resume is AI and you talk to the applicant and you bring up something specifically and they have no idea what you're talking about. It's almost like AI wrote their resume and they didn't even review it before they sent it. It's getting pretty frustrating, but we are seeing employable people have jobs. Let's put it that way. The more qualified they are, then they are in higher demand. So demand for labor is better than it has been in years of past. And so the job market has improved for applicants. And so for employers, it has become more difficult because finding quality employees has become more difficult. I hope that that makes sense to everyone. And so as we're talking about automotive, some people are coming in saying they're A techs and they're B techs. Some people are coming in saying they're B techs and they're actually C techs. So that has been something that has become more prevalent as of recent, is where people are they think that they're better at what they are, and you may be seeing, well, an A tech in times of past has been X. Well, sometimes some of those have been shifting a little bit because the qualification of the labor that is coming in the door isn't as great as it has been. A lot of the high school guidance counselors, mine, for instance, did not tell me to go into blue collar welding or anything like that. It said, you have to know what you're doing. And so when they were giving us that advice, AI didn't exist. So many things had changed. And so I think that we're going to start seeing a shift with high school guidance counselors, for instance, and career guidance counselors, shifting people more toward automotive and some of the other trades because there is better money out there available because the skilled labor is not the same as it used to be. I'm hoping that it makes a comeback. So the labor market does remain healthy, is what I'm saying. Wage growth has not in years past kept up with inflation. And so this is something that even though this has been slower as of recent, the last couple of years, inflation has dropped tremendously, but it still exists. So regardless of how much you love our country in the United States, it still exists. Inflation in Canada is crazy compared to the United States, but that the wages are not keeping up with inflation, and so that is something that you have to keep in the equation as well. Consumer spending power it's down this year over last year, um, basically because of the aforementioned. And so if you look at the whole, there are more people employed this year than there were last year, but they're not making as much compared to inflation and such. And so more people can afford things, but in the general public, they're affording less, I think is a great way to put it. And individuals that have higher earnings, say somebody that makes six digits or more, their bottom line hasn't been affected as much, and so are continuing to spend. It's the people that are making minimum wage to $50,000 a year. Those people have really been affected because when a gas price um, hits that is higher, then that affects that demographic more. So someone that is making six digits when their gas prices go up, they don't care as much unless their business is directly attached to it. But as far as their bottom line, it's really not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. Plans adjusted, they're not canceled, so people really are going to road trip. They might be going from Pittsburgh to Lake Erie instead of from Pittsburgh to New York or just one of the further destinations. And so some of them they are traveling less, but they're still traveling. On some of the modifications that we've seen, more motels are being booked than hotels. Uh, so we are seeing just in this first week of summer travel, people are stopping at McDonald's instead of the Waffle House. I know that that doesn't sound like an upgrade to some people, but they're not paying waitresses, then they're excited because they saved 20% on their bill. And so those are some of the adjustments that are being made. They're just spending a little bit less, being a little more frugal, but they're still going. So I just popped this into AI this morning. I know that a lot of you aren't big fans of AI. It assists in getting presentations done when they need to get done, but I didn't want to make this specific to any of our clients, so I just popped this in AI. So please take it with a grain of salt. Um, what can we do as business owners to continue to sell? You sell value. When the market shifts like this, you sell value. You understand that they want to pinch pennies, and so you sell them packages that help them to pinch pennies. You don't fight against that. You will sell them package value, and so we talked about this last week, where you can sell them all their fluids being topped off and such, and free tire rotations, things like that. That's value, and they can understand that. And so you help them to improve their mileage, you improve their longevity. You see right here, we're talking about a new engine air filter, so you can talk about how that helps their gas mileage and it helps them go further on their dime. Spark plug inspection, say if their gaps aren't set right and their engine is not firing correctly, then that is indeed something that will affect their gas mileage, especially if they have 60,000 miles on their spark plugs or 100 even. It's time to swap those out. Um, Checking their tires if they have uneven wear, if their tire pressure is not where it needs to be. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but that can affect their fuel consumption. They're cleaning their fuel system. These are all things that can be done to help them save money, to get better gas mileage, optimal performance, cleaner emissions, and such. But they're looking for value, help them find what they're looking for. This is something that we just brought out this week. We have a diesel shop that said, well, what can we offer as far as something that's kind of out of the box? A tow-ready service. Is your vehicle ready to tow? And you can also train your advisors to say, well, what kind of a payload are you going to be pulling with this? All of us on this call have seen people towing trailers that are too big for what their vehicle is. That is something that needs to be brought up to them. And so you can ask, how many pounds are you planning to pull? What kind of a trailer are you planning to pull? Just because it has a hitch doesn't mean it can pull everything. We've all seen, and we have a transmission shop on here right now that has seen people pulling trailers that are way too big with an F-150. And so this is an inspection that can be offered, just a free tow ready inspection. Uh, Bring your vehicle in, let's see if it's ready to tow. I know that I had a personal experience where I was like, oh, okay, I'm ready to go. And Friday came around. I didn't inspect my truck and I was towing and I didn't have enough coolant in my vehicle and it overheated. But if I taken it in for a tow ready for service, they would have caught that. This is a great opportunity to get the vehicles that you want to work on and just helping them to get ready to tow a vehicle. If you live in a mountainous area, this is a bigger deal. because then you're inspecting more than you would otherwise. Then if they have something happen, then you're the one that they think about that can fix it. So road trip ready. This is a big one right now. Checking their or changing their oil, a free tire rotation, proper tire pressure, topping off all the fluids, complimentary no wrench inspection, and depending on the vehicle, you're asking them what they're going to do with it. You can certainly go into some of those other things that we talked about, but my big theme here is that people are not they're not taking their vacation away. They're still going on vacation. They're just kind of pinching their pennies. So help them to do that. Don't fight against the grain, so to speak. Go ahead and help them to reach their goals. Did we have any other questions or concerns before we close this out? Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and close out. Thank you so much for coming on. If you have any questions about what other things you can offer, uh, for summer road trips and such. And if you want to be able to, like I say, offers are really good, deals are good, help them to pinch the pennies that they're looking for and to help them to get the best bang for their buck. So thank you so much. And we'll be talking with you. If we haven't had a meeting in a month, please hit me up and we'll get together. So thank you.